The only complaint I've ever had about helicopter stories is that it produces too much writing. I know, right? Can you imagine a teacher actually complaining about that? Too much writing. And it's not just one teacher. I've heard this from quite a few teachers over the years. And I know it's a happy problem, obviously, but it's also one I had to find a solution to because it happened to me as well. And like every other teacher it happened to, I was struggling to keep up with the children. My name's Trisha Lee, and for over 20 years I've been helping children to tell their stories and act them out. And over that time, it never ceases to amaze me how incredible Helicopter Stories is at getting children choosing to write. The first time this ever happened was with a boy called Connor. I was taking stories from a nursery class and he walked past with a pen and paper in his hand. He was on my list to tell a story, so I asked if he was ready. His reply was a huge surprise. "I don't need to tell you a story," he said. "I'm writing me myself." And he sat down near me, and while I was scribing someone else's story, he filled an entire A4 sheet with emergent writing. His teacher's mouth literally fell open. She'd never seen Connor go near the drawing table before. And both of us just stopped and watched. That was in the early days of Helicopter Stories, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a child make that connection that in Helicopter Stories they could write their own story. The second time, a few months later, was even more dramatic. I was working across 2 mixed nursery and reception classes in Tower Hamlets when 5-year-old Esha asked if she could act out a story she'd written at home. Of course, I said yes, and Esha went back to her room, and I heard her telling the other children that we were going to act out her story later. When I finally got to her room, her teacher was standing there holding a wad of paper and looking completely baffled. "What did you say to them?" she asked. 13 3- to 5-year-olds had written stories. 13 out of a class of 20. No adult had asked them to. They'd just done it because Esha had told everyone she'd written a story and it was going to be acted out, and her friends wanted to write one too. And one of those stories was from a 3-year-old who was the youngest in the group. And his teacher told me he'd never picked up a pen before, but he filled a page with marks. And when she asked what his story was, he pointed to the marks, just like I do when I read stories back to the children, and said, "There was our injection. There was a tissue. There was x-rays. Then there was extra checks." He knew those marks held meaning. He knew they held what had happened to him and that those words could be brought to life. And it didn't stop there. I remember a girl called Fiona from reception picking up a clipboard and starting to scribe for her friend. And she wasn't just pretending to be the teacher, she was becoming the scribe. She listened carefully, said the words back as she wrote, and then decided to scribe for everyone. And all of this makes sense because children learn from what they see. So if they don't see writing, if they don't see stories being captured, we can't be surprised when they don't want to write. And since those early days, I have seen hundreds of children decide to write their own story. And each time, what I notice is children discovering that their marks carry meaning. And watching those moments over the years made me realise how so many children do want to write, to make their mark on a page, and how nowadays the world around them gives them fewer reasons to do this. Children see far less writing today than ever before. Where we used to write shopping lists, there's an app for that. Thank you cards have become emails. Even teachers' observations are often done on iPads instead of post-it notes. And yet we still expect children to get excited about writing. And nothing makes writing more irresistible than when it has the purpose of getting your words down on paper, ready to be acted out. So I started encouraging children, if it's not your turn today or you're waiting, you can write your own story and we'll make sure that gets acted out too. This isn't in place of scribing. I still scribe 6 stories every session, but it's a way to make sure everyone can take part. And because there's never time to take down every word, we keep it short. Just a character or a sentence gets acted out. And often, by the end of the session, most of the children have done some kind of mark making, not because I've told them to, but because they want to. Maslow said, if we're not modelling what we teach, we're teaching something else. And if we expect children to write, but they never see us writing, how can we show them that it matters? So yeah, the only complaint I've ever had is too much writing. But if children are choosing to write, not because they have to, but because they want to, well, that's a complaint I'll take any day. If this resonates with you, join our story community and please do subscribe. I'll see you next time.